Okay, this one is interesting. Have you ever thought how long hair transplant will last? I'm sure you have. Well, I have. Guess what? I asked this question. No, not the hair transplant surgeon. We all know what they're gonna say. I asked this question David the Museum, obviously. He had his hair transplant done 8 years ago, and here's what he said. So the other thing I was thinking that so you're obviously a long-term patient, like a hair transplant patient, and many people are always asking, like, okay, so how long does the hair transplant last, and do I need to take finasteride for that or not to keep the hair? So from your experience, you had obviously 3 FUTs done, and that obviously went from the the best zone, but like, how does it feel, your hair transplant, like after all of these years? Does it still feel the same? Does it look like it miniaturized in a way, became thinner, or like, like, how does it look?
I'll say the upside is the longer that I've had the transplanted hair in my head, the better that it actually has felt. So when I first got my hair transplant done, I don't know the way that it was with you, but when I first got mine done, it it was kind of like pubic-y, right? A little bit, or at least mine was, like when it first was growing in, and I had some certain hairs that like didn't seem to it's just like one or two, but like they were not really growing perfectly with everything else, you know? And so I mean, to be honest, over time, in that way, like how much it looks like the rest of my hair has actually gotten better. So even the way that like sticks up sort of on the sides or doesn't, it's gotten a little bit better over time. So that's been kind of a benefit. Now, the downside is that time is not on our side. and as a hair transplant patient that's now had many years of my hair on my head behind me. I got my first hair transplant done like about 8 years ago, and my last one that was done to really like put hair in my head, I think it was about 6 years ago. So this time really gives you a lot of perspective, and you start to realize that this is really a long game. And at a certain point, I got off of finasteride for about 3 years because after my third hair transplant, I thought, well, my hair looks good. Like, maybe I won't get on finasteride. And I was reading all the horror stories and like the same situation that we all go through, where I actually talked to one of the leaders of the post-finasteride syndrome foundation. He wrote me on YouTube. He's like, hey, I really would love to talk to you. And I talked to him, and he told me about his whole process of this post-finasteride syndrome that he had, and how, and like I talked to him on the phone, and I listened to this doctor that was like very anti-finasteride, and I was like, man, like, this guy doesn't seem like he's making up this story, and he's telling me about how, he was depressed and like brain fog and like all these crazy things. And so at that point I got off finasteride. I was like, man, I've got my hair, like, why am I playing Russian roulette with my body and my genetics by being on finasteride? That's the way that I felt, right? And I was really happy. I just got married, like all this stuff. I felt like my life had really like come together in a lot of ways.
Didn't you do a video actually about it, that you discussed that you're getting out of the finasteride? Yes. And why? I think I remember I've seen this video a long time ago.
Yes, yeah.
Wasn't it? Like, how long was it?
I made a video, yeah, I don't know, around 6 years ago or so. It was just a little after I had my last, restorative hair transplant, FUT.
Yeah, I remember you've been talking about saying that, listen, most of the hair is already transplanted anyways, why would I need even finasteride?
Yes, yeah. So here's the thing, is what I discovered that I didn't know back then. And like I said, time is a great teacher. Is that what I realized is that my transplanted hair actually started to miniaturize a bit. So it didn't fall out, but the individual hair follicles, like individual strands of hair, I started noticing were getting a little bit thinner. So after about 3 years or so off of finasteride, I realized, oh wow, like my hair's looking a little bit thinner now. Like, it's not, again, falling out, but I definitely realized that your transplanted hair can absolutely still be attacked by DHT and still miniaturize. And this is, I think, the number one myth when it comes to hair transplants, is the idea, and it's something that I bought into because I didn't have the experience of time, is that your transplanted hair is DHT proof. So like once it's there, that's it, you're good. That's not true. It is DHT resistant, but it's kind of like a water resistant watch, where it's like, it's water resistant, so you can get it under some water, but like if you submerge that thing in water and go diving 10 feet, which is, the equivalent with our hair of you spend 3 years off finasteride, and when you're still in your early 20s and your DHT is attacking your hair and wants to kill it and all this stuff, then suddenly you're starting to really test your own hair's resilience, and that's not really a good idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting, and I think invaluable actually, because I've been there as well. I was thinking, okay, you know what, donor, it's like 100% DHT proof.
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna transplant, they're gonna grow, and that's what most of the hair transplant surgeons are talking about and telling everyone, because obviously they need business.
Say, a good thing to do for you guys if you can. My dad's passed away now, but I have enough memory of my dad's hair. So my dad was like completely bald on top, like horseshoe bald, zero hair on the top of his head, in the horseshoe kind of male pattern. And my dad's donor hair, if I'm thinking back, was actually quite thin as well. So it was there, like he had that area, he still had the horseshoe kind of look, but his actual individual strands of donor hair were quite thin. So it might be something good for you to do if your dad or one of your close relatives has male pattern baldness. Just take a look, like if you can, I don't know, go up to them and ask them, like go look at your hair in the mirror and look at how thick those individual strands of hair are, and then go look at their hair. And if their hair in the donor region looks thinner, then that might be a good sign to you that, hey, your donor hair could miniaturize over time as well.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I always say that the family history is it's not 100% correct, but it can give you a really good idea where you're heading. So my father is Norwood 7. It's pretty bad. My older brother is Norwood 6, but he has but they both have pretty good strong donors. So I didn't see like a much miniaturization in there. And for me, I'm Norwood 5. So at my age, they both already been at their Norwood levels. So my brother been Norwood 6 for last maybe 4 years, and it kind of stopped there for him. For me, like I said, I'm Norwood 5, but there's a possibility I can go to Norwood 6 or, maybe even Norwood 7. So I'm trying to be proactive. And even if I think like the hair transplant is DHT proof, I would still rather try to be proactive basically and, prevent possibilities even. So whether it's finasteride or any other medication. So that's why, that's one of the other reasons why I'm thinking of starting oral minoxidil after my second hair transplant, just kind of maintenance on the low dosages. And I've like, in the end of the day, the hair is pretty important if you're planning to get a hair transplant. So you might as well, take care of it long term. Because if you're gonna do a hair transplant and you don't do anything to prevent further hair loss, it might end up pretty bad, especially if you go to a bad place,
Yes, it's really important that we think of a hair transplant plan versus just even just that first decision of like going to, of course, the first decision should be get on good preventative treatments that are working for you. Second one should be go find a top world-class surgeon that you are very confident with, and exactly what they do as part of their surgery. But the third thing after that, and it's part of those two, is like having a really good plan. And that means what is your backup plan? What happens after this? If this doesn't go well, what are you going to do? If like, let's say you even go to that world-class surgeon, as you mentioned, and you're having some popping and it ends up not turning out the way that you want, what is the backup plan of that? Or let's say it all does work out really well, then how much more donor hair do you have? Or if all of that, if you get all that and it's still not enough, do you have similar chest hair to your head hair, or do you have good beard hair?
Probably not.
So all of those things, if you can, of course, most people aren't going to think about them, but if you're watching this video, maybe you've got a shot. Thinking about all of that and coming up with a good plan with your surgeon who cares about you as an individual person, or with your consultant for that surgeon, or a combination of those two things. That's all really important. And my friend Steve, who's Dr. McGrath, my last surgeon's consultant, like that's what I love about Steve, is that he he really cares about making a plan. He wants that person to have long-term success, and that's very important when you're going into this process, is to like have somebody, or do it yourself if you can. Like Rolandas is very thoughtful himself, so he's able to do this himself. But sometimes it's good for some of us to have kind of a partner to bounce those kind of questions off of. And a surgeon can be good for that. Man, one of the things that frustrates me is these Instagram messages I get on a pretty regular basis that are on like very basic things. Like, when can I take a shower after my surgery, or things like that are like very basic surgical questions. And my response to these guys, and I don't mean to be, I want to help them, but I always write them to go, what did your surgeon say? Like, this is a surgical question. Like, why are you writing me on Instagram?
Exactly.
You went to a surgeon that
Bingo.
like that isn't going to respond to such a basic surgical question like this to you. Like, that was your first problem already. Like, if you went to any decent surgeon, you should have like their phone number or their consultant's phone number. You should be calling them and going, okay, cool. So here's what I'm doing. So this is when I should expect the grafts to start falling out, or, whatever it is.
Yeah, I can relate so much. I'm getting this kind of message pretty much on a daily basis, really. Like, I'm getting at least like 2 to 5 people texting me, new people every single day. And I getting this kind of questions as well. And it's kind of like weird. Like, I'm just replying, man, like, just follow your post-operational instructions that's been given by your clinic. Oh, they didn't give it to me. Okay, so, well, in this case, and now obviously I'm trying to, give my expertise, my opinion. I'm not a professional, but like, just ask the question to the place that did your surgery. Indeed.